Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com, and this is Disconnect to Connect, one-word conversations. This is the moment where I tell you about our sponsor, IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where I encourage you to be yourself and to live your life. And how I do that is by having, workshops, conversations, coaching, opportunities and items and all that other kind of stuff. And I have two books of Beyond the Shell, U Journal, and the U cards. I spotlight the U cards within this conversation because they're intention setting cards. It's how I am showing up and how you're showing up to see how you are being, or you could be, for today. And so I pulled the cards for this conversation, and I think it's pretty funny because of the person that I'm speaking to. The I am card that I picked, the I am curious card popped up. So that is fun, and I'm sure that will come up in our conversation. The you are lovable, I always get when I am told that I'm lovable. And the quote card for today is the be you, do you, for you. So with that in mind and the intention being set, I will introduce our word. And our word for this conversation is try. I have really changed my thinking on this word, and this word has shown up different for me in the last couple years, but sometimes it goes back and forth. So it'll be interesting how this conversation lays out. So with that in mind, I am going to bring my guest in, and we will have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, this is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Okay, so my name is Karen Ward, and I am an entrepreneur, writer, and artist based in Montreal. I run a couple of businesses / projects, Curiosity Inc. and Curiosity Global, and I would say I would be best described as curious. Certainly, I love people like that. That's unbelievable. That wasn't staged, by the way. I didn't know that was coming.
Right, me neither. Right.
I'm a great wanderer, so this year has felt strange because it's been harder to do that, or certainly harder to do it further afield. And a wonderer as well. I think that also, of course, ties back to curiosity. So I'm delighted to be here, Bill, and I'm excited to talk about this word because you're right. There is some complexity around the word try that I think is worth exploring.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much. It's those moments when I pick the U cards and it just pops up and it's just like, wow, okay, well, all right, curious. All right, I'm curious. All right. So, it was going to be in this conversation if I pulled it or not, but it's great that it did. So how does the word try land for you?
Well, the reason you and I started talking about this word is because I run a couple of online programs, one of which is designed to help the people in the program connect with content and concepts outside of their normal domain. And I'm a big believer in the opportunities that doing art of any kind provide to us. And by art, I mean like just playing creatively, making stuff with our hands, tapping into that, especially if we don't use those muscles very often. And I had an interesting conversation with a participant a couple of months ago where she gave me feedback on one of the modules saying, it was kind of interesting, but I'm not an artist, so I didn't really feel like it was for me. And I had this sort of reaction like, well, it doesn't matter if you're an artist, like just try it, see what happens, because there might be a door that opens for you in a way that's unexpected and interesting. So I started thinking a lot about trying new things, trying things out, and what makes it hard for us, especially as adults, as grown-ups, to do that. I see it amongst my nieces and nephews as well. Like I think it's interesting when I see kids coming up against the resistance to trying, because I don't necessarily think that's innate to us as young children. There are things that get put in front of us or around us or said to us that make us become more cautious about just giving things a whirl. But certainly as we get older,
Right.
as with curiosity, I think we get rewarded for knowing stuff and we get rewarded for doing stuff well, less so for asking and being beginners and trying things out. And I think in not being willing to try, there's a lot that we lose out on. So that's why I'm getting into this conversation. And we have a program that's about to launch next week called Curiosity Summer Camp. And the whole thing has been designed around trying stuff out and meeting new people. And so that word and that concept and that invitation has been really top of mind lately.
Right. I totally get that. And I appreciate that. And it kind of, it's working. There's a lot of things like moving around in my head about that, and really trying, I just had to kind of figure it out. It is, when you were speaking, something that came up that I've never thought about it before, but I think our action of trying, right? The concept of trying is really not trying at all. It is cautiously doing, right? Right. It is, and so that brings me to how try occurs to me. It's like, as a kid, I was rewarded for trying. Well, you tried, right? But as an adult, I felt that don't try, do, right? It's like, I don't want to hear about you trying, or you really can't try.
Right.
And I've had people say to me that, okay, try to touch your fingers, right? Try to take your fingers and try, it's like, goes like, oh, okay. No, I didn't tell you to touch your fingers. I told you to try. You can't try to do, you're not doing it. Mm-hmm. And so it is like, all right, I'm not getting credit for trying anymore. And it's like, well, that sucks, right? But right, but I really appreciate there is this cautious doing that causes me to, do this show, right? To be in this show, be at episode 105, because I cautiously did this, right? And now I'm doing it. If I would have tried to do this, I wouldn't be here. And so trying to, and I still have it in my language, right? I try, to really wrap my head around that is just interesting.
I wonder, because I keep thinking, I'm not a big Star Wars aficionado, but I definitely grew up on the OG films. And I think it's Yoda that says there is no try, only do. And so I appreciate that and have tremendous respect for Yoda. I think what I'm hearing in what you're saying and in my own reflections on this, that intention, as is the case almost always, is everything.
Right.
So I think that, the word try can sometimes feel like a get out of jail free card. It's like, well, I tried it. It didn't work out.
Right.
Whatever. And, I think if you are somebody with ambition and you want to grow and do interesting and good things in the world, that trying maybe feels like a little soft.
Right.
So, and that's what I hear in what you're saying about cautious doing. It's like, I'm going to give it a go and, let go of my need for it to be perfect or meet whatever probably unrealistic expectations I have out of the starting blocks. And so maybe the better word or the adjacent word that has a bit more juice in it is experiment. So what I really love inviting people into is experimentation. And I think there's a distinction for me between, having a strong intention or a goal and saying, I'm going to give it everything I've got. And this is very true for us with camp right now, that I'm just throwing everything into it that I can. I haven't worked this hard in probably a year because I believe so passionately in the project. And so yeah, there's a lot of trying. Like, we're doing it. We're throwing ourselves into it. We're trying to get the word out as best we can. But it really is an experiment because we don't know what's going to happen. It's the first time, aside from me doing it last year. So I think there's a distinction between trying with kind of like half-assedness and like, oh, I'll just give it a try, and having some intention around, this interests me. I feel there's something in me that feels called to try it out or to experiment with it. And I'm going to do that without maybe some too much attachment to the outcome.
Right.
And I think that's what kids are amazing at, right? Like, they're going to try it because it looks fun and cool, and they don't care if they're going to be good at it, or at some point, until they start caring. Are you in Indy 500, Bill?
Yeah, no, it's the beautification outside my house that's happening right now, and it's like, I guess I didn't tell them that I'm like a streaming live,
you're
right?
fancy, exactly, online radio host. So anyway, I was rambling a little bit, but I think there's something interesting around, in try, there can be like squishy, not really that committed to it, and then there can be try where it's like, I'm going to throw myself into this with some joyful, exploratory, experimenting energy and see what happens.
Right. No, I really get it, and I think because, you know, most of the times when I use try, it's like after I failed at something, right? It's like, you know, it's like, so most of the times it doesn't come up, or, you know, it's, I use try, either I failed at something, so I'm kind of justifying it, right? Or I am qualifying my doing, right? Right. So it's like, right. So it is. So like you were saying, it is, yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing. Don't hold me to this. You know, it's not, you know, if it doesn't work out, but this is what's going on right now. You know, I'm trying, right?
Like a hedge somehow. I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there is, you know, so how can I, you know, so I'm trying to find a way in my language to not hedge and just do that. And I think for me, that's where, like you were saying, the curiosity comes in. And that I can remember as a kid that it was like, you know, I was one of those why kids, you know, why is this? Why is that? What's this? Why, you know, all that kind of thing. Yeah. And I had so many people around me. It's like, stop it. It just is, right? Right. It's like, you know, and I made that mean that my curiosity was wrong. You know, and so I stopped being as curious, or I stopped letting people know how curious I was.
Right.
And so a lot of the curiosity was in my head, you know, and I created those rabbit holes and like, oh, okay, what's, you know, why is this going on? What is this going on? And it was like, you know, this conversation with myself, and I wasn't really experimenting and really following my curiosity outside of my head, and which caused me more stress and more, you know, all that kind of thing. And so really, you know, from, you know, about 5-6 years ago, when, you know, I kind of connected with the GLP, Good Life Project kind of tribe and community, I was like giving myself permission to be curious again, to cautiously do things, right? You know, anytime there's unicorns and rainbows and giggles and you have to like, okay, what is this, right? You know, I don't know if I'm going to do this right? You know, I don't know if, you know, but, you know, I don't know if I can do that. But really having fun with and smiling through my quote unquote trying caused me to really embrace my curiosity again.
I love that. And I think I missed the person's name. Someone popped up with a comment or a question talking about try and attempt are the same thing or the same concept, like striving.
Anthony with it, right?
Yeah. So I think I just wanted to riff on that for a minute. And I think it's interesting. The word strive, I have a really strong reaction to that, because I think strive I think well, I'm going to talk for myself personally. Striving for me as language is very unhealthy. Like I can be an over striver, and to the point of like burnout and making myself sick and being unhealthy and unhelpful to everybody around me. So I have let go of striving because that felt very unhelpful to me personally.
Got it.
But it doesn't mean that I don't drive hard towards a goal. Maybe it's just language. It could be semantics possibly. But one thing I wanted to come back to around try and curiosity is the word that you use, and that's permission. And I think as grown-ups, I don't know why we think this permission was taken away from us, but a lot of us do, that we no longer have permission to ask instead of no. We no longer have permission to try things just for the funsies of doing it.
Right.
And I think that's where, as adults, we give up a lot when we think we can only do something because it has some guaranteed outcome, or it's going to build a credential or develop a skill that looks good on our CV. It goes on and on and on. And I want to acknowledge, especially now, that time is precious. Our context is stressful. So I acknowledge that 100%. And I think we lose the joy and the learning and the expansion that's possible when we do give ourselves, and the only person that needs to give it is us, when we do write ourselves a permission slip to say, you know what, I'm just going to try to make Montreal style bagels. And it doesn't matter if they turn out amazing, because I believe in the process of that journey, of that experiment, of the trying of the new thing.
Right.
Because if we don't give ourselves permission to try, and we only give ourselves permission to strive and hit our goals and do things that are worthy and focus on accomplishment, we miss so much. Much.
Yeah, I get it. When I was talking to Billy Michaels about a week or so ago, and our word was will, and and he's mentioned something that he learned. I'm like dropping all these names all the time. Charles Gumpton, of playing through the suck, right?
Yes.
And there is that in my trying, it's that playing through the suck, right?
100%.
It is recognizing that I am doing something, are moving, taking action on something that I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what the outcome is going to be, but I would love it to be great and successful, but it's gonna suck for for a moment or two now,
or much longer.
Or much longer.
Yes.
And I need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And it's not as an excuse that hey, I just picked up this guitar for an hour. That's that's why it sounds so horrible. But I expect for myself that anytime I start something, it is going to be wonderful or amazing. And because I was told as a kid, oh, you're such a quick learner. You kind of get, you do all that. And it's like, am I losing that? Am I no longer a good learner? And it's now, it feels like, because I really am up to bigger things, because there's the bigness of my life. There's a steep learning curve, There's a longer, suckier, moments, to kind of go through that. And it's like messing with my head. And so, my default of, well, I'm trying to live a big life, right? I'm trying to, do that. So, give me a break here, type of thing. And so it is just, I think it's like you were saying, I'm still going off of that permission to really do something, and to continue to stay doing something to a point that it's not, I'm no longer trying. I move from the phase of trying to doing, instead of I'm always doing, but I'm not doing it well, right? I'm not doing it with confidence, but I'm doing it with confidence. And that's that different stage. And that was how Rick, put up that, doing is just successful trying, right? And so it's just that consistently moving and trying causes you to be doing. So
I think it's trying things out, and I think that this is true for every human being, regardless of how old. And I get very inspired by seeing, people my age and even older who continue to try new things. And it's okay. I love that you brought up the word suck. It's absolutely okay to suck at things. And sometimes there's joy in the suck. There's a great book. I forget the author's name. We can look it up and I'll share it with you afterwards. But she's a journalist based in California, and she wrote a book called "It's Great to Suck at Something." I think something like that is the title.
Right.
And the thread that pulls through the book in her storytelling is her relationship with surfing.
Right.
And she's like, it's really hard to learn how to surf. Surfing is hard. She's been doing it for years. She said, I still suck at surfing. I can get up on the board. I can catch a wave. But, in the grand scheme of the world of surfing, I suck at surfing.
Right.
But there's something about that activity that keeps calling me back. Even if I have a bad spill, huge wipeout, and I have to take a little time out for a month or two, I keep coming back to it because there's something in it for me. I feel there's something in it for me. Even though it sucks sometimes, I suck most of the time, it's okay to suck at stuff. And I think that's, for me, what the invitation of trying is. Like, it just feels like there's one side of try is like, well, I tried. And it's like, it's like the excuse-making side of try, perhaps.
Right.
For me, trying is like lean in. It's like, I'm just going to try and see what happens.
Right.
And then if that didn't go as expected, I'm going to try something else.
Right.
For me, my life has been an ongoing collection of experiments, and give it a go and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out as expected, course correct, or set it aside, or interesting learning. We discovered something that unexpected. Let's now go in that direction because that feels juicier.
Right.
And that to me all feels like trying. And I keep coming back to that client who said, oh, well, I'm not an artist. So she didn't even engage with the content because she had like an image of herself and a story about who she was and how she shows up and what she does that prevented her from even trying to do the activities, trying to do the little crafts that were part of it. So that bums me out. That really bums me out, that we don't feel like we have permission to or can just try things for the sake of the experience of them. And it's okay if we're not good at it, and never do it again, frankly. But the exercise of trying, I think, is powerful.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The couple of things that have been that came up to me while you were sharing that was my conversation around living beyond our labels, and because when you're saying this, that the person was saying I'm not an artist, right? That label. Her understanding of what an artist is wasn't her, right? Yes. But beyond that label, as her understanding of that label as artist would give her access to an artist can show up in a lot of different ways, or artistry, or something. And so then we can embrace that by trying, right? By, kind of going there. And the other thing that came up for me was, my understanding or my kind of challenge with our results-driven and success-driven culture that we have. It's like I feel like, hey, if I'm doing this is the result that this has to happen. And if you're not seeing this, it's a waste of your time. If there's not a level of success or fans or appreciation of it, it's a waste of your time. And so it's like it feels like it's a part of my psyche that, hey, I've been quote unquote trying this for a week, I see no results, so I'm out, right? And it's just like, what, and we're like waiting for this level of results, or feeling like, I thought of sometimes my time, when I go to the gym, it's usually the beginning of the year. It's like, okay, I'm really going to get in shape. Day one at the gym, I'm like, I don't look any better. Oh, this doesn't work, right? It's like,
Totally.
it's like,
I can't relate to that at all. Yeah.
So it's that is it that our, the way our culture, our society tells us that the result, the the success of the matter of our doing is more important than our trying, our the attempt of it.
The exploring of it. Yeah, I think unquestionably that's true. I think that messaging, that narrative comes from a whole bunch of places. Sometimes from our families, families of origin. Sometimes, depending on where we went to school, that messaging could be really strong. I think culturally, as you mentioned, that's really strong. There are many layers to it. And I think there's, just listening to you talk about, especially the gym experience, which I relate to so much, there is a difference. I think trying is the act of getting going. And commitment is required to see the results if that's important to us. And I think, sometimes it's helpful for us to be clear when we're starting off on an adventure, if this is one of exploration and experimentation, or if, in which case we have a lot more permission to let go of what the outcomes look like, or maybe not care what the outcomes are, or if the outcome is important. So, you mentioned health and going to the gym. If your doctor says you need to lose 40 pounds or you're at risk for heart disease, then the outcome becomes very important.
Right.
And so there is, as Yoda say, maybe in that case, no try, there's do. Like you need, the trying is like you start, you get going, and then the do is you're committed to the 3 times a week, the cutting out whatever your choices are to realize that outcome that's really important for your health. That feels different to me than, in the spirit of learning and growing and experimentation and exploration, I'm going to try this out and keep asking myself, do I want to keep going? Like, what is this giving to me? And I think it's more important about what the process is giving me.
Right.
We're talking about cautious doing. I wrote down exploratory doing, because it's hard for me to do anything cautiously. I either do it with zeal or I go to bed and have a nap. So this exploratory doing and experimental doing, that feels to me like it's more, I'm kind of in it, right? Like I appreciate that it's I'm trying something new, I'm trying it out. I don't have that attachment to outcome, which, by the way, I should say as an aside, is really hard for me. I say that, and it's really hard for me not to be excited about what might happen if this goes well.
Right.
But yeah, I think, and I see this with the kids in my life too, that we need to give ourselves and them to permission to try and fail, or try and not do as well as they thought, and get up and go again, and keep trying and keep experimenting and keep playing and exploring our way into growth and new directions. And because we get one time around on the planet, so it feels worthy of doing, just for the sake of it, even if there's no societally endorsed or celebrated outcome.
Right. Yeah, I just really, got for myself, I guess, like as we were talking before about permission, right? There's some, in order for me to really get that, I already have permission, and it's like, who took my permission card, right?
Yeah,
type of thing, because now it's like, do I have permission to do this? Or, because, I think I shared on a show that my first experience at camp, I walked in like, it's like, what the heck is this? And a thought that went through my mind was, who gave these people permission to act like crazy people, right?
It's like, who do they think they are?
Right.
As grown-ups, right? Like, I think that's what the permissions talk sounds like. It's like, Who do they think they are? External judging. Who do I think I am to try this or to do this? Is internal judgment, right? It's the
Right.
withdrawal of permission.
Right. And I think that it's a part of what Rick is asking, that is, do you think that the comparison, affects our trying, our try?
It totally does, because I think, and I've read this over and over and over again in small business and online entrepreneur circles. You can't compare someone's outcome, their outcome to their journey, because you don't know their journey, or you only know what they've shared
Right.
in kind of glossy way on Instagram or Facebook. And so it's very easy to give up the experimenting and the exploring and the trying when you're looking at someone else's outcome, saying, oh, well, and you have this perception, it's like they're an overnight success. They did that in 6 months. Yes, Anthony, exactement, c'est ça. If it doesn't work out, keep going. Try again. That's exactly right.
Right.
Comparison, we social media ourselves into a box of denying that trying and exploring and experimenting, because it's like, oh gosh, like you said, I've been doing this for a week and I don't have the same results as that person on Instagram who
Right.
just overnight became whatever they became. So why bother?
Right.
Like, it hasn't worked out for me in the same way. Little did you know, do you know, that this has been a 5-year journey for that person, and they're only sharing the last 6 months.
Right.
So
Right.
yes, Rick, comparisonitis is the enemy of exploring and experimenting and trying things out. For sure it is.
I think the one thing that came up for me when Anthony shared the very popular, at first you don't succeed, try again. The I guess the fallacy in that, the first thing you do, you're not going to succeed, right? Right? So why would that even be a part of the first?
Why
right?
is that the measure?
Right. It's like we're not if we can just, it's like I'm trying to reword it, that it's like
if it sucks, keep going.
Right. If it's right, that's the real saying that we want to encourage people, to do. But it's that other way of being, that, just because we started this, we should be successful at it. And so, okay, keep on going. And I think that, I have embraced, I would say I've embraced the imperfect actions, right? Because before, my actions, I didn't have any actions. I had inactions.
Right.
And I called it planning, right? right.
I can't relate to that at all.
Right. So,
foreign concept.
Right. So it was, and so now, the more that I embrace the imperfect actions, the more that I embrace that there is no perfect actions. There are only actions.
That's it.
Or not actions, right? And it's like, and the actions are my doing, my what, and even there's planning in my doing, there's all that other kind of stuff, but there is this movement. And most of the time, my planning was my stopping, my waiting, my not, I say something and then I'll think about it. And then it's like, oh, how's things going on that? Oh, I'm still thinking about it. No, you're not thinking about it. You're just not doing anything with it. You're not trying.
Planning. Yeah, it's procrastinating.
Right.
Yeah.
And this show has, got to this place because I said to my friend Manuel that, hey, this is something that I'm thinking about doing. And he said, hey, I'll be your guest, tomorrow. And I was like, what? It's like, I'm still thinking about it, right? It's like, no, so are you going to just continue to think about it? Or are you going to do this?
Get started. Exactly.
And so I was like, okay, let's do it. In my mind, cautiously doing, I'm going to try this, right?
Yeah.
And I said, all right, let's just stay with this. And because I stayed with it, and some of the early shows, I they were effective. They gave me I got some level of confidence and encouragement, and I was able to get to this place that I am now, that um, I'm willing to try or do different things within this, to really stretch myself. So I'm curious about these one word conversations, and I'm curious about the people that I invite, and the conversations that I'm willing to have. And so it's really exciting for me to see, because I just did it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, I was like saying, I didn't go small, I did big. I didn't say, hey, I'm going to do this every once in a while. It's like, I'm going to do this daily. And it's like, whoa, what is that all about? Right. But
that's hardcore trying, Bill.
Right. It's hardcore trying here. Right. It's like, it's like that Yoda, there's no try, there's do, right. And the one thing that I haven't said, on the show much, and but the level of commitment that I had, I'm committed to this conversation, but I'm not committed to this show. And people are like, what? What do you mean? That, and there is this place that I came to terms with, is that these conversations are important, and how these conversations show up is what I'm committed to. Right now, it's showing up as this show, One Word Conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I'm excited, to do that. However, I am not so committed that this is going to go on for years, right? This is going to go on this is the only way that this is going to show up. And there's a part of me that is afraid of that, but there's another part.
Afraid of what part of it?
Afraid that I'm just going to just like not show up tomorrow, right? The next day, and go, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Let's go. It's like the irresponsibility part of me that's like, that's really irresponsible. People really enjoy that show. How can you just not do that type of thing? But at the same time, I want to have the freedom to do or to try other things, to try other ways of showing up, to really kind of driving the point of the power of conversation.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing that's been rolling through my mind as we've been talking is my zeal and enthusiasm around trying things out, trying new things, being comfortable or celebrating when things are hard and they suck and keep going. I don't want anyone to take away the impression that I'm advocating for keep going at all costs, keep trying no matter what.
Right.
Because I think that is actually, we get that strong messaging culturally as well. And it is a very large ingredient in the burnout recipe.
Right.
And so, speaking to just jumping off what you were just saying, I think it's important for us to continue to evaluate what we are getting from an experience that involves trial and error and experimenting and exploring. How does it feel? Like for me, I always know if I'm being, because resistance shows up every single day in my life in all kinds of forms. But for me, it's like if I feel resistance in my chest or kind of anxiety in my chest, that is the watch out for me. That's my body saying, this doesn't feel maybe like it's good stress as you work into something new. If it's in my stomach, like butterflies, that's good. That's an invitation to keep going.
Right.
So my point being that I think, one of the skills that is good for us to develop as adults and for us to teach the little people in our lives is being clear on why we're getting off a train, understanding why we are saying, I'm done, I'm ready to let go. Now, in a lot of people's worlds, that the language we attach to that is, oh, you're giving up.
Right.
And that feels super toxic to me. I think we need to, again, it comes back to permission. We need to have permission to start and try. And we also need to have permission to say, I'm finished now with this. I have
Right.
closure. And it's one of the things I really respected about what Jonathan and Stephanie did with the Good Life Project. After 5 years of their camp experience, experiment, exploration, they said, we're done. We're complete with this project now.
Right.
Even though they had raving camper fans saying, no,
Right.
we want more, keep going. They were complete with the project, and they had other things they wanted to develop and share with the world. As you mentioned, they had other ways they wanted to show up and other ways they wanted to contribute. Right. So yeah, trying doesn't mean you trying again until you end up burned out and sucking your thumb in the corner. That is not the one point anyone, or that I'm suggesting around trying and giving new things a go.
Right.
I just want to be clear on that. And the one of the things I wanted to remember to share, because my mom will love this if she's watching. Hi, Mom. When I was a kid, I was involved in tons of stuff. Like you, Bill, I was super curious, loved to try lots of different stuff. This is still true of me now. But often that led to a lot of too many things, and I would, kind of like get into overwhelm, which led to inaction. And my mom used to always say, honey, this was especially true, I think, of piano, because I played piano for a long time. And she would say, honey, just 5 minutes. Just sit down and practice for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes are always the hardest. And if you just don't have it in you to keep going up beyond the 5 minutes, that's fine. But sit down for the 5 minutes. And I don't know if this was just a mantra that she had, or she, that was passed down to her, or she just knew me as a little human and knew that once I got into it, I would keep going, because I did really like piano a lot. And she was right. And I say that to myself every single day. If I'm resisting something, it's like, I don't want to do it. It's like, just 5 minutes. And inevitably, almost always, the 5 minutes leads to 30 or an hour, and I'm in, because it's like, for me, I slip into flow, right? When I can slip into flow, I'm good. Even if it's something I don't, love doing, if I can get into the groove of it, then I can keep going. It is the 5 minutes. That's always the hardest. And so I share that because that is a gem from my childhood that I come back to literally every single day. So thanks, Mom, for that. Even though I roll my eyes every time. 5 minutes sucks as much as the rest of the minutes. Right. It's like the sitting down and getting started. Like you said, the cautious action, right? The cautious movement forward and the willingness. And I think to some degree, the courage to try.
Right.
Try it out first time, or to try and keep going.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Now I have, of my many roles, I have the 5 minute rule, right? And just kind of incorporate that into my doing or trying, right?
Yeah, Doris Ward, we'll give credit where it's due.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's really great, and that expectation. And I think the other thing that I'm getting is that, there's, I don't want to say there's a label on our doing, there's an intention on our doing. And the more that we recognize why we're starting something, right? And that kind of dictates, will kind of have a real say in the longevity of it, right? And how it's showing up for us, and if we're and how we speak of it, our language around it.
Yeah, I think the intention shapes the energy, right? It's like, am I in this for the long haul, or that's how it feels now, or am I in this to play and practice and experiment and explore, and I'm going to continue to ask myself, okay, what's next? I feel like try for me is, there's a question embedded in it, and it's like, what if?
Right.
What if I tried this out? What if and that's super yummy to me. I love the question, what if? And why not? Related cousins. Question cousins.
Right. I don't know. There's a question of what state are you in? I don't know if that was for you. I guess I didn't hear that you're not in a state. You're in Canada, right? So, or it could have been
the state. Maybe it's like, what state am I in?
Right. What's
mentally, which is actually that question, and would need another whole 45 minutes to dig into.
Right. That's a whole nother conversation.
Different conversation. Exactly. Related, but different.
I believe that we could have this conversation for hours.
For sure.
But I'm sure there are some things that we are to try today, right?
Yeah, there are, in fact.
So what is there any last thing or thing that's come up in this conversation that you would want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, I think that the key themes that have emerged through our conversation, Bill, that really resonate with me is permission. So getting, connecting with who do I think I need it from, and why can't I grant it myself, or why do I feel like it's being denied? Because we have so much more permission than we think we do. This notion of 5 minutes, first 5 minutes, like giving it a go and
Right.
what happens. And then, which this also circles back to permission, is like, it's okay to stop. Try
Right.
is not purgatory. You don't have to keep trying until you drop, trying a single thing or the same thing, because that is actually insanity, like trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Right.
So yeah, permission to start, permission to stop, an invitation to enjoy and embrace the process in between.
Right. No, I totally get that. I totally appreciate that. And I think there's so many moments in my life where I question who has my permission slip, right? Right, and it is like, I do, right? It's like,
Write that baby yourself.
right. And
You can do it.
right. Is that something that I am going to exercise, right? Or just kind of, keep somewhere in the corner to be used later. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really
so much for
appreciate it. I shared the link to your the camp, and so people can see that and contact you on your email. And I love your curiosity challenges that you do yearly. I don't know if one of those is coming up again online, but those are always fun. And one of these days, hopefully soon, when we kind of figure out how we can kind of gather again, I'll have you down in South Carolina, and we'll do a curiosity workshop or something. I don't know. That's what's going in my mind, right?
I love the Carolinas. So when it's safe to be there, I'll be there like a bear for sure.
Right. So, well, thank you very much. I'm gonna put you back in the green room, and we'll have our goodbyes from there. But this has definitely been great.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Okay. Wow. I think I started off with Yoda. There's no try, there only do. Right. But there is this moment. There is this this try that causes us to do, and it starts off with our intentions and how are we going to approach our doing. Is this for exploration? Is this for a form of understanding or something? And that cautiously doing, that moment of should I be doing this, or why am I doing this, or really get to a place that the success of this is not of any concern of mine right now. I am just going to try. I hope this show and this conversation had value to you, or added value to your life, and in your trying or your doing. I invite you to contact me on IamWilliamBrown.com. Sign up for an introductory coaching session, and just see how you can be yourself and to live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.